Hello, everyone, and welcome now to day 16 day 17 of the Lenten reading through 1st and 2nd Samuel. By way of a recap, we transitioned reading the final chapter of 1st Samuel and the first chapter of 2nd Samuel. In the previous reading, we read the account of Saul's death as well as David's response. We left off with kind of the reflection. It's all about what's going to happen now. The entire literary structure of First and Second Samuel has been to prepare us now for David, and so what is going to happen? Well, in chapter 2, it starts off, David is talking to God. And while that's not put in so very prominent language, it's undoubtedly important. David's talking to God, getting counsel from God. This isn't something that we really find Saul doing. David's going to get anointed once again. Samuel had already anointed him. He's going to be anointed again. He's getting further validation from the people. However, we see, though, he's not getting in complete validation. This is a coronation of sorts for some sects of the people, but not for every sect, because there's going to be problems, and there are going to be military problems. But at least I suppose that's what David knows well, is military problems. But there are civil problems as well. And there's been a lot of civil problems in a sense up to this point. And really there's going to continue to be. The household of Saul is not going down without a fight. There's Ishbosheth, who is a son of Saul. He wants to take the kingship that was his father's. He's a less prominent son than Saul's older sons who died in battle. However, Abner, who has been a primary military figure outside of Saul and David, he's leading Saul's army, trying to propel Ishbosheth, Saul's son, to become king. So there's a fight, and what was very personal between David and Saul is now become very corporate. Their feud is spilling over. There's entire armies that are fighting this out now, the house of Saul and David, and that's not unlike what we've seen to this point throughout First Samuel and now Second Samuel. The problems of individuals become problems of the larger, the corporate, the national people. Remember when Samuel was called to prophetic ministry, Eli the high priest wasn't looking after his sons. They were acting wrongly, and individual problems became corporate problems as the people would lose in battle. Then remember, Samuel's sons did not behave well as judges either. Of course, Saul did not behave as well as a king, and that led to corporate problems, and these are continuing ongoing. In fact, when we zoom out quite a bit and look at the larger narrative of the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, that is a recurrent stream. The mistakes, the sins of the individuals become factors that lead to downfall of the entire nation. So rather than fighting their archenemy, the Philistines, or even the Amalekites, which, typically what they're supposed to be doing, they are fighting each other. However, the war is having a certain trajectory. David is winning this war steadily and steadily. And then there is Abner. now it's going to take a major turn. Abner, this primary military figure who's been Saul's right-hand man, now who's leading the military campaign on behalf of Saul's household, well, he's accused by Saul's son, Ishbosheth, of sleeping with one of Saul's concubines. Now, remember, Saul is dead. I'm not certain what the real problem is here with what's the accusation. Except this. It's listen for the music that's behind the words. Remember, Saul was a jealous man, very delicate and territorial. Ishbosheth seems now to have some of those trademarks. Abner is insulted. Why? He was loyal to Saul. And the point here isn't whether he slept with the woman or not. The issue's over the disrespect. He was loyal to Saul. He's shown his loyalty to Saul now by trying to propel Ishbosheth and serving the house of Saul. And now he's going to be accused of something that's probably trivial. What we see throughout the Old Testament isn't always about there are sexual ethics at play, but it's not always about the same kind of sexual ethics that we see in our time. These are men who are on the battlefield here. That there's bigger problems to worry about just looking at this from a literary narrative and historical sense. And why is this going to be the pivotal thing that is going to divide up Saul's household? But we've already seen Saul divides on things that are less than primary, and so Abner is insulted. His loyalty runs out. He is going to defect over to David's side, and there's an interesting dialogue where David asks Abner. He's willing to accept Abner, but David wants him to bring Michal, Saul's daughter, to him. She had been promised to David. However, evidently now we see she had never been delivered to David exactly. In fact, she's married. She has a husband, and for this agreement, they're going to take her from her husband and give her to David. In fact, her husband, Paltiel, is going to try to follow after her, weeping. He's a hurting man. Remember David, one of his wives, Abigail, he got from Nabal, who he was about to kill. Now he's gotten Michal from this man who's hurting, and there might be some laying the foundation here for other things that we will read in time. However, Abner is not going to make it. He's not going to survive long term. He has killed other people in battle. They have a legal right in that world to avenge their family's death. And so family's going to avenge the death of their own and kill Abner. And so he's quickly eliminated from the story after defecting to David. And I'm wondering if this might be considered some sort of poetic justice in the ancient world. Although Abner ends up on the right side, he didn't come to David's side because of any real sense of virtue, but rather because he was insulted, he was disrespected. And so the man who was known for his loyalty really becomes disloyal. So that's not good, and so he's not going to make it. I think that's a literary poetic justice. All right, so we see that even at Saul's demise, there's no wide open space for David. Now we've read through 3 out of 24 chapters of this book, 2 Samuel, 1/8, and we've yet to reach the place where the story has been trying to take us, really. However, when we reflect on it further, maybe it's not really about getting there to where David is the undisputed king, but maybe it's more about how we are getting there. It's more about the process. And as we continue on in this book, I think that some of the synthesis of all of these ideas that we've collected, they're going to be much better formed and much more clearly articulated. All right, thank you. I will visit with you again tomorrow.